Today, we're going to look at examples of some simple programs we can make in Python. As we learn more concepts in Python, you can make cooler and more complex programs. But all of the ones you'll see here are pretty short and plain. So this is a simple math program. It asks for two numbers and then tells the user the sum, difference, product, and quotient of the two. Notice how I cast the input to a float before I store them inside of variables. Whenever you're dealing with inputs and numbers, you're most likely going to have to cast them so you can use math operators. If you don't, you'll get errors. I could have casted these to integers, but then the program would crash if I entered a decimal value. It all just depends on the program you're trying to make. This program is only 3 lines. It asks for a number and tells you if it's even or odd. It uses modulo. Whenever you divide something by 2, the remainder will either be 1 or 0. If the remainder is 0, it's an even number, and if it's not, it's odd. First, the program evaluates the math expression, and then it makes a comparison. After finding that, it stores it inside of the variable isEven and prints it out. This one divides numbers, but gives a fraction remainder instead of a decimal. It uses floor division and the modulo operator to get a whole number quotient and the remainder. You can pause the video to take a closer look at how it works. On line 5, I had to cast the numbers to strings before I could add them to make a bigger string. Sometimes, this program gives you a fraction that's unsimplified, but this is the best we can do with what we know so far. This one is a bit more useful. It solves Pythagorean Theorem problems, which solve sides of right triangles. In order to solve a Pythagorean Theorem problem, you need to use a square root, which we haven't learned how to do yet. In Python, there are 2 ways to do square roots. In math, taking a square root is the same as taking a number and raising it to the 1/2 power. So we can use the exponent operator with 0.5 to write a square root. The second way is using the square root command built into the math module. You'll need to import math, and then you can do math.sqrt. Both of these will result in 5. Put your import statement at the top of your code. We'll learn more about imports later on. All these prints at the top of the program are just for looks. When you run the program, it'll show a little ASCII image of a triangle and then ask for a value. Let's test this program out. Here, it works with a simple 3, 4, 5 triangle, and also numbers that are not as nice. This next one solves quadratic formula problems. It prints information first, then gets values from the user, calculates the solutions, and then prints them out. The thing to notice here is on these lines. When you're doing many math operations in Python, they'll go in the order of operations, just like in a scientific calculator. If you're not getting the expected result, it doesn't hurt to group things into parentheses to make it easier to understand. If I test out this program, it works just fine. There are a few special operators that we haven't talked about last time. This one might seem obvious, but you can put a minus sign before any number value and it'll turn it negative. These are special assignment operators. They're actually a shorthand form of these operators on the right. So they just perform an operation on a variable and then assign the result to the variable all in one step. There's also an easy way to incorporate variables into strings. They're called f-strings, f standing for formatting, of course. Just type in f before the quotes of a string, and everywhere you want to place a value, surround it with brackets. You can place any value inside of the brackets, no casting needed. Let's look at a program that uses f-strings. This is a simple contact formatting program. Type in unformatted information, and then it'll print everything out in the right way, so you could copy and paste it into a different program. F-strings will become more useful when we get to writing text files in the future. Also, I use this command on line 9 called capitalize. I know, I never talked about the capitalize command, but I did say that there were a bunch of operators you could do on strings. So I looked at a list of them and saw that capitalize was something I could use, so I used it. You can do the same thing. There's a whole lot of stuff outside of what I talk about in a 5-minute video, so don't hold back from exploring yourself. Well, that's all the example programs I have for this video. I'm going to keep saying this forever, but the main way to learn about this stuff is to make your own programs. Have fun and invent something new. Code Dog out.